Hello everyone and welcome back to Sports Today. We usually bring you this video segment every single morning, and whilst we normally always try and aspire to be there with you in the mornings to start your day by helping you catch up with all the latest happenings in the world of sport that took place whilst you were catching up with some rest, well, this morning was a little different because we had the Afghanistan versus Bangladesh match take up a lot of our time and a lot of our attention. So we're coming to you a little later than usual, but with the same interesting content that we always bring to you. So without further ado, let's get straight to it and let's talk about a couple of rather noteworthy incidents that took place in the middle of the Afghanistan versus Bangladesh match. The first was a rather interesting case of Rashid Khan, the skipper, losing his cool just a little bit. This was one instance when Afghanistan were batting, wherein he was going for a second run and the batter at the other end was Karim Jannat, and Karim Jannat was rather nonchalantly ball watching, had his hand up. Rashid nearly halfway down the pitch, and he was so frustrated that he ended up flinging his bat towards Karim Jannat, then running back to complete his run. Definitely not the case of Rashid Khan being captain cool, if you're putting it like that. More like a case of him definitely wearing his heart on his sleeves. Of course, later on, he ended up downplaying the incident, which is pretty much to be expected given what transpired. Doesn't really make him look good, even though you could understand his frustration. Even if there was no single on Karim Jannat's body language here, everything is wrong. He's watching the ball, his hand is casually up. You need to be more verbal and more assertive with your calls, whether it be at the strikers or non-strikers end. And another rather interesting incident came about, one that potentially could be a case of cheating if it was pursued by the relevant authorities. And I'm talking about this incident where you can see one player in the slip cordon for Afghanistan. He's fallen down and what looks like a case of apparent cramp. The player in question is Gulbuddin Naib, the all-rounder, and he ended up pulling up with a bit of cramp, or what seemed like a bit of cramp, just at that point in time when Noor Ahmed was getting ready to bowl. Now, at that point in time, what was really interesting was Rashid Khan's reaction, because he looked less than pleased. Whether or not he looked less than pleased at the fact that Noor was, or rather that Naib was pulling up, or the fact that this was the worst inopportune time, the fact of the matter is the timing of it was very poor, because it did come across, and a lot of fans have said this on social media, that it came across as a clear instance of him trying to waste time, to try and stymie the momentum of the game and ensure that Bangladesh's focus was lost. Now, a sport like football, you see this happen a lot, and whilst fans do decry it, there's nothing actually wrong with it, because it is well within the rules to sometimes do it, and if you push the boundaries, you end up getting a yellow card. Now, in this case, of course, no yellow card, but it is clearly against the rules in cricket, and if pursued, it could very well be seen as a case of cheating. Of course, it ended up not being pursued, because as soon as Naib pulled up with cramp, it ended up raining anyway, so there was a stoppage in the game, and those multiple stoppages perhaps played a little bit of a part in Bangladesh losing the plot and ending up losing the game, although given losing close games is very much in their DNA. Any which way, keeping our focus on matters beyond, let's say, this particular match, Babar has filed a lawsuit against a Pakistan journalist who basically implied that Babar was match fixing or spot fixing. The journalist in question did say that Babar had been given some gifts and questioned really the source of it, and now Babar Azam's lawyer has served a legal notice to that particular journalist and said, listen, we've got 14 days, either tender an unconditional apology or this matter goes to court and you're going to be sued. I think it's an interesting thing really, because again, if you're looking at and again, as someone who's part of the media, as part of the press, I'm never going to make a claim that big unless I have substantial evidence to back it up, because otherwise what Babar Azam did was absolutely the right thing. It seemed like an unsubstantiated claim to get a little bit of clickbait, generate some talk, but there is nothing to prove that Babar is in fact indulging in spot or match fixing. And so given that there seems to be an admission of innocence there on Babar's case, he's pursued the case, and hopefully we'll see the matter being let's say followed on to the full extent of the law. But switching our focus now from the world of cricket to the world of football, there is a lot of international games to catch up on, because of course it is the summer of not only the European Championships but also the Copa America. And let's start with some Euro action. Spain ensured that they topped their group and continued their run of good form. Remember, they're unbeaten in the tournament so far. They've won 3 out of 3 with a 1-0 win over Albania. Not only are they now group toppers, guaranteed to make it through. They're unbeaten. Spain so far have looked imperious and very much the real deal, to say the least. They've been very, very good, and courtesy of a winner from Ferran Torres, ended up extending their unbeaten run. But there was no such good luck for Croatia, who, you remember, needed a win against Italy to somehow leapfrog them and get into a good position to automatically qualify for the next round. They were leading 1-0 courtesy of a Luka Modric goal, but Italy ended up equalizing at the stroke of, let's say, injury time about to end. It was 90 plus 8 minutes when the equalizer went in. And what that means is that Italy qualify in second place. As for Croatia, well, they're still kind of awaiting what their fate will be, given that in the Euros you've got 6 groups, and the group toppers, or the top 2 in each group, definitely qualify, but 4 of the best third place teams also qualify for the round of 16. So Croatia not mathematically out yet, but given their points tally, it does seem like it's only going to be a matter of time before their elimination is confirmed, because they've only got 2 points, if memory serves me right. They've got 2 draws, and really that's the extent of it. So it's a bit unfortunate, really. Croatia seem like they're going to be ruled out in the group stages itself. Switching focus to the Copa America, staying with football, and Brazil had a rather lackluster start to their Copa America campaign, ending up playing out a 0-0 draw against Paraguay. Now, this is a Brazil team around whom obviously there's always going to be expectations. You just know that's how it is with the Brazil national football team, and doing well in the Copa America would be seen as a bare minimum. But there's also a lot of criticism that's been coming from Brazilian footballers that this is probably one of the more lackluster Brazil teams we've seen in recent times. Playing out a 0-0 draw against Paraguay is not going to be quelling that disquiet that is currently taking place in Brazil. In fact, it's only going to intensify the noises, saying that these players really, whilst they may be individually good and play well for their clubs, when it comes to performing for their country, perhaps they're not really up to scratch. Anyhow, switching our focus now from the world of football to the world of tennis, and Yannick Sinner, a name you'd remember because he, of course, won his maiden Grand Slam title earlier this year by clinching the Australian Open, has now won his first title on grass, and it couldn't have come at a more opportune time. He ended up beating Herbert Hurkacz in the final of the ATP 500 Hall Open, which is taking place in Germany. He's won that title, and that is one of 2 tournaments really that is seen as build up to Wimbledon. There's the ATP Hall, and of course there's the Queen's Club Invitational. Queen's still ongoing, and this one is done and dusted. As for Sinner, really couldn't have picked a better time to start performing this well on grass courts. Whether or not this translates to a good run in Wimbledon and potentially a title remains to be seen. A little bit of India-centric news before we call it wraps on this edition of The Wrap. You've got Aditi Ashok and Diksha Dagar, 2 of India's most promising young Indian golfers. Well, they have now confirmed their qualification for the 2024 Olympics in Paris, which means that India's golf contingent will comprise of 4 players. There's Gaganjit Bhullar, Shubhankar Sharma, and of course in the women's you've got Diksha Dagar and Aditi Ashok. Now remember that Aditi Ashok came very, very close to actually clinching a medal in the Tokyo Olympics. She was leading for most of it, but towards the end just kind of faded a little bit. One hopes that she learned from that experience and will do better in this edition of the Paris Olympics. But that's it for us on this edition of the Morning Wrap with Sports Today, or the Afternoon Wrap, depending on your perspective. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure rocking along with you, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can let us know by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well. For now though, from my side, it is goodbye.